Does anyone else totally regret starting their towing business? Oh, this one, I'm very interested in this one.
Me too.
All right, so this is from Wooden Chart 7368. Wanted to get some thoughts from others that were involved in a different industry or endeavor before starting their own towing business. I started mine 6+ years ago and grew it fairly quickly. We have a large fleet, 30+ trucks. Wow, that is pretty big. And run all types of towing except repo and residential towaways. Oh, thank you. That's good. You're not the guys that go after people that are already down on their luck. Everything has been fine, but lately the burnout is real. All the things that come with being in the industry are just catching up and making me feel like I could have done much better with a lot less headaches in a different industry. From the caliber of employees to damage claims, rising insurance costs to the point of profits being squeezed, new equipment prices skyrocketing and used equipment prices plummeting, constant problems and headaches to deal with that arise on a daily basis. There are just so many moving pieces, literally and figuratively, that at this point I just wake up each day hoping to get through the day. The excitement, fun, and allure of growing the company is all gone. Has anyone successfully made it out of this industry and into something else? How is it? Did you feel a weight lifted off your shoulders? How did you get out? Ready? That's every business.
100%.
You just described every business owner in America.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
We, our buddy, Dr. Mark, just sent out a survey to a bunch of people about this.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
the burnout is real. Burnout is
100%.
absolutely real. It doesn't matter.
Dude,
I run multiple businesses now, right? I have the software company. I have the law practice. I have the real estate stuff. And it's all burnout. But you get through it, because you got to find the little things inside of it that make you happy.
I still remember when I talked to you the one day and you were like, I'm done with this real estate stuff.
Oh my God.
I am not dealing with renters anymore. I was like, well, right. But we've all been there, done that. Right. So yes, we're all seeing rising insurance costs. We're all seeing equipment costing more. Like I buy printers that used to be $20,000 a pop. Now they're $40,000 a pop. Right. Like we've had to increase our prices accordingly. We've had staff turnover. Like there's all these things that come with running a business. The thing is, I come down to two things. If you put procedures, processes, and all that stuff in place and you hire someone in to do some of these things, which is what I ended up having to do, it takes a lot of that off your shoulders and allows you as the business owner to focus back on what you enjoyed, which was the growth, the fun,
business,
the fun part of the business,
the actual
right?
running the business. Yes.
When you get into the weeds as a business owner, you're doing all the wrong things because that should not be your job. That should be someone else's job, and you should be focused on going from 30 to 40 trucks.
Right.
And we all hit that point in our business where we're in that in between, where it's really painful to hire someone as a business manager or a CEO or to run the day-to-day type business, because those people, when they're good, cost a lot of money. But your job then as a business owner is to go out and get the additional revenue and let that manager or that CEO, whatever you want to call it, let them deal with all of this stuff.
Yep.
I still think that's one of the best ways to deal with burnout is unload the stuff that's dragging you down onto someone else, pay them well for it, and focus on the stuff you do well.
Yeah. First off, if you're running a tow trucking business with 30+ trucks, you've done something right. I mean, most companies probably have 2, 5, maybe. Yeah. Not a lot of trucks in that business, I would imagine. So you're obviously doing something right. And like you said, Gummy, your job now should not be to do the day-to-day. Your job should be, how do I grow from 30 to 40 to 50? What's the 5-year or 3-year projection on this thing? Where do I go get investment capital? That should be your job now. Your job should be running the business. So in that life cycle, that's where the burnout goes away. Like you said, it starts with you actually doing the physical work, right? To the business growing while you're doing the work. But once you get to a point, you need to step away from doing the work and have someone else do it while you change over into a different part of the business, which is running the business, right? And that's where the burnout goes away, because now you're doing something new and fun and exciting, right? We all get into the business at first. The first couple of years is always fun.
It's always this, or you're working in your business or on your business.
Right.
And I don't think people really understand the difference, right? So if you're doing the work that you're getting paid hourly for, that a customer is paying you for, you're not working on the business, you're working in the
Right.
business. If you are working on getting a contract with an insurance company to do all their towing, you're working on the business.
Right.
Right. And it's that fine line. I always say, like, if it's not focused on the sales and growth part of the business or making the business more efficient, you are now working in it.
Yep.
Anything other than those things is working in the business. Right. And I always remember the story with Elon Musk.
Yeah.
When they were like, they were days away from being bankrupt, basically shutting down the business, right?
Yeah.
And he went and worked on the factory floor, right? So he was working in the business, not on it, but he was really working on it because he went in to try to figure out firsthand where's the lack of efficiency, right? And like, I think there's stories where he's like, I slept on the factory floor.
He slept on the floor, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
But he was trying to figure out, like, how do we become more efficient? Because without the efficiency, we can't function. Like, we're losing money on every car going out.
Right.
And I don't know how long it took him, but apparently he figured
something out. Yeah.
I think we talked about this previously.
We probably did.
Part of the problem were the robots. The robots.
Oh, right. Yeah,
the
we did talk about
robots were actually slowing down the production
Right.
process instead of speeding it up. So they pulled robots off the line and put humans in,
Mm-hmm.
and the efficiency, despite the additional cost of wages, was still enough
Right,
to help turn them
significant,
around.
yeah.
Right. And that's kind of what I think the stage this guy's at, because I hit that stage in my business too, where I was literally sitting there coming up with marketing campaigns and writing copy and doing all these things. Yeah. And one day I was like, why am I doing this? Like, why don't I have a copywriter? And it was do I have the money to go pay them? Well, no, but I won't have the money if I don't go sell.
Right.
So it's a catch-22, right? So I decided, okay, let's bring in a part-time copywriter. I went out and started selling again. Lo and behold, 6 months later, we had a full-time copywriter, and I was now doing the stuff again that I love doing, right? But and another thing, like he's talking about, like, margins being squeezed. As business owners, we are incredibly afraid of raising our prices. And I've fallen into that trap. And I remember, I think it was January of this year, I walked into my office on a random Monday morning because I had a miserable weekend because, like, burnout. I walked in and I'm like, raise all our prices by 20%.
Blanket, across the board.
Across the board. I don't care what it is, just raise it 20%.
Yeah.
And, my finance lady was like, oh, we have to notify our customers. And blah. I'm like, no, just raise.
All new stuff.
Just raise everything by 20%.
Really?
And let's see how many customers we lose. So we had one customer that emailed us and said, hey, your bill has gone up 20%. And I emailed her back, said, yeah, that's our price increase for the year. Well, it would have been nice to get a heads up. I'm like, oh, I apologize. But
Right.
Do you want to cancel? No?
No.
Okay.
Because you're doing a good job.
Right. Like, so, and that's the thing, like, I use this as an example that if you're winning every job you quote, you're underpriced.
Yeah.
Right? You should be winning somewhere between 80 to 90% of your jobs, because then you're right in the sweet spot of the audience you're serving, right?
Right.
So different audiences have different price points. So, like, you could be a plumber in one area and people think it's a lot to pay you $80 an hour, but you're a plumber in a different area and they don't bat an eye at paying you $200 an hour, right? So you kind of have to take that into consideration when your pricing is, who am I serving? And what is that price point where 80 to 90% of customers would pay it, and I would lose 10% of them, but the efficiency just goes up and your profit margins go up.
And
that's the killer.
And when you get more revenues in, you get more money in, that really helps with the burnout too.
It does.
It really does.
Like, I think my beginning symptoms of burnout was when I realized that our margins were shrinking and I felt like I was doing more work for less money.
Right.
And that's kind of what led to the whole, I went down this rabbit hole of, like, looking at pricing and pricing models and, like, why do we come up with the prices the way we do it? Which led to me that Monday morning coming in and saying, jack them up 20%.
Right.
Like, I don't care. And it immediately fixed our margins. And I was like, oh, I could have done this 6 months ago. Right?
Right.
But 20% was probably pushing it. But we still got away with it. And we literally had the conversation 3 months later. Should we push it up another 10%? Like if we didn't lose a single customer at 20%, like
you don't push the envelope too far though.
Correct. Right. And that's ultimately what we decided.
Right.
But from that point on, now we review our prices every 6 months. We look at our expenses and go, if our expenses go up, that means we got to raise prices. And rather than having to take these 20% leaps, we'd rather increase it 5% twice a year, right? Rather than a big jump. But as a business owner, don't be afraid to raise your prices.
Now
you can always lower them. You can always, but like,
oh yeah, sure. If you can always make special agreements with certain clients.
If you're undercharging, you're going to go through burnout faster than you realize.
In my industry, in the legal world, we can't just raise prices. We have to give our clients notice. Mm-hmm. I think it's 90 days. We have to let them know 90 days ahead of time before we can raise our rates. But fortunately, I think we raised our rates once, and we're good. Believe me, we're right in that, because one of the good things is with our industry, we generally know what our competitors or other attorneys are charging hourly.
Most industries know what their competitors are charging.
They should. Like they should.
You kind of know. Like I know what other people in my industry are charging.
Right.
And I try to make sure that I look at like our competitor level, like who we consider head-on competitors.
Yeah.
And I'm always priced 20% higher than they are.
Are you?
Always. Because we do more work than they do, and we do it differently.
And there's an argument, to that too, because even if you're higher, you would think, oh, you're going to get less customers. Well, sometimes that's not a bad thing, because sometimes the ones that are looking for the lowest price are the ones that are going to work you the most.
Correct. Right. I always say,
and then not pay.
I always say it's the people that pay me the least that want the most attention and have the highest expectations.
Right.
The guy that throws 10 grand at me a month has expectations, but he's not calling me once every 10 days to find out how his campaign is doing.
Right.
Right. He's
waiting for his monthly reports. And unless something doesn't make sense, you probably won't hear from him.
Correct.
You just get that check every month.
The people that pay us the most is probably the ones we hear the least from.
Yeah.
Right. Like I always say, there's a sweet spot to your customer, is the one that just trusts that you're doing the work, assuming you're actually doing the work, of course. That doesn't really want to bother you and doesn't want to be bothered. He just trusts that you're doing what you say you're going to do. Right. And in our industry, that sweet spot is about, call it $2,000 a month in spend.
Okay.
Because we have the conversation with them beforehand. Like if you need a return on your $2,000 a month for the first 6 months, you shouldn't be doing this.
Right.
If you have to call me every 15 days because you're worried about what's happening to your $2,000, you should not be doing this at all. Right? Like we don't want to work with you if that's the case.
No, that makes sense, because the people that are giving you the money that, number one, you deserve for what you do, generally understand sometimes it takes time. You're an expert in your field. Let him do his job, right?
Correct.
Whereas sometimes the people that come in with the pinched pockets and are like, I'm reluctantly giving you this money, I expect immediate returns.
Correct.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like my field, marketing, that's not how it works.
No, that takes time.
Even fine tuning something like, and I don't even do this, but like shopping campaigns on AdWords, they can take weeks of data collection before they can fine tune them.
Right.
Like you could be seeing a 1x or a negative return for your first 3 to 4 months on that. But once they fine tune it, like once you work through the process, they can get them to 6, 7, 8x returns. But you lost a boatload of money in the beginning because it was just the process that naturally has to happen.
Right.
Sometimes there's an advantage, right? Like I tell people quite frequently, find a marketing company that has worked in your industry before, right? Because they have already learned a few things. So now you're getting additional expertise. It's like the difference between, I wouldn't go see a family lawyer for a business contract.
Right.
Like it wouldn't make sense. So you wouldn't go to a national agency that specializes in brand marketing across the U.S. if you're a local plumber.
Right.
Like they don't function on that scale. And that's what I mean. Like, and if you can find a company that has worked with a plumber that is in the next state or the next county over and is willing to work with you as well, they probably already know certain things that are going to benefit you. So like when you hire anybody to do marketing, it should be an interview on both parts.
Right.
The marketing company should be interviewing you to see whether you're a good fit, and you should be interviewing them to see if they have any type of knowledge that could work to your benefit, basically shortcutting that time where you're not wasting money in the beginning doing the trial and error stuff.
Now, we got a little off track here, but that's okay. So coming back to basics here for Wooden Chart, I mean, there's burnout in every business, right? There's always going to be burnout.
100%.
Your job is to, as a business owner, is to, it's going to happen. You're going to face it. So then when it does come, you have to figure out, what do I need to do to get away from that, right? And it's not shut the business down. It's not going to a different industry. You're just going to get there again. It's just
correct
if you're successful anyway. So like we talked about earlier, grow the business. Your job should be from doing the day-to-day and worrying about the day-to-day to how do I get the business to the next level. You should be out there selling and getting capital investment, et cetera, to grow the business. And that should be your new strategy, and that will help stave off the burnout because now you'll be in a completely different field with the business, which, again, usually is new and exciting. So best of luck to you. If you like what you saw in the clips, don't forget to subscribe as well. Let us know what you think by leaving some information in the comments.